Picture this, you're standing in your kitchen, right? It's late at night, and you are just staring out the window at your front lawn. Now imagine seeing something move in the shadows.
Yeah.
But instead of, terrifying fanged monster or like a masked intruder, what you see is a pair of disembodied, glowing white pants just casually taking a midnight stroll across your grass.
I mean, it's an image that's equal parts eerie and just completely absurd. Like, if you actually saw that, your brain wouldn't even know whether to scream or laugh.
Right. Which is exactly why that specific image is the foundation of one of the most beloved mysteries of the digital age. So welcome to today's deep dive. We're talking about the Fresno Nightcrawler, which is also affectionately known around the internet as the Walking Pants.
It's such a great name.
It really is. And to figure out how this thing completely took over the collective consciousness, we've pulled together a bizarrely diverse stack of sources for you today.
Yeah, our reading list for this one is truly something else. We are jumping from like hardcore visual effects analysis all the way down to arts and crafts.
Literally arts and crafts. We've got a Reddit thread entirely dedicated to debunking fake folklore. We have a comprehensive field guide to modern cryptids, a YouTube visual effects breakdown by Captain Disillusion, a history of digital monsters, and I'm seriously not making this up, a step-by-step digital sewing pattern for making your very own Nightcrawler plushie.
Which is amazing, but it's a wide net, right? So our mission today is actually very focused. We are going to unpack how a grainy 20-second clip of a passive, leggy oddity evolved into this absolute internet sensation.
Yeah.
We'll explore the literal mechanics of what makes a modern digital hoax work, and ultimately we really want to figure out what our collective obsession with a quote-unquote cute cryptid says about human psychology and, our relationship with the unknown.
Let's start with the tape that kicked off this whole phenomenon, because to understand the obsession, you really have to see what people were looking at. So the year is 2007. We are in South Fresno, California. And a resident who is known in the lore only as Jose, he wakes up because his dogs are going absolutely crazy in the yard.
It's the classic inciting incident for almost every suburban mystery, right?
Yeah.
The dogs always know.
Oh, well, they always do. Always. So Jose checks his home CCTV security camera, and he sees this thing. Based on our cryptid guide source, if we try to build a physical profile of what's on this black and white tape, we're looking at a creature that's maybe 3 to 4 feet tall.
Pretty small.
Yeah, quite small. It's pale white, or maybe like a light gray, and it looks totally smooth. There's no fur, no scales, no obvious texture at all.
But the most notable feature, though, is what it's missing. There's no torso, there are no arms, and absolutely no neck.
None. It is essentially a tiny little nub of a head attached directly to 2 incredibly long, thin legs. I mean, my brain immediately went to that old Dr. Seuss story, right? The pale green pants with no body inside of them.
Yes. Oh, exactly.
But it's not just the look that caught people's attention, it's the locomotion.
The gait is truly strange. It's a steady, rhythmic, bipedal walk, but it moves like a pendulum. Like, the joints where the knees should be, they seem to bend backwards or just at a very awkward high angle, which somehow propels it forward in this incredibly smooth, gliding motion. It doesn't hop, it strides.
And what's wild is that in that original 2007 footage, one of them walks across the lawn, and then like a minute later, a second, noticeably smaller one follows the exact same path.
With the exact same weird walk.
Exactly. It's almost like a parent and a child. But the story doesn't end in a Fresno driveway. 4 years later, in 2011, another video surfaces. And this time, it's from Yosemite National Park.
Which is a crucial escalation in the lore. Because the Yosemite footage is shot lower to the ground, it's set in a rugged, wooded area, and it actually shows two night crawlers walking side by side.
And they're interacting with the environment. Like, they actually step over a small log on the ground without breaking that weird, smooth stride. This Yosemite footage really threw gasoline on the fire because it took this thing out of a manicured suburban lawn and put it out into the actual wilderness.
Right.
It stopped being just, a weird thing on someone's driveway, and it became a species.
Which completely flips the script on survival instincts, if you think about it. Like, if you think about typical monster sightings, Bigfoot, chupacabra, the creature, is usually either attacking something or it's fleeing in absolute panic from the human observer. It's always this chaotic blur of motion.
Yeah, they're always running away. But the nightcrawler, on the other hand, is just minding its own business.
Yeah.
It's completely passive. And I was thinking, if it were a guy in a suit trying to pull a prank, human nature says he'd probably turn to look at the camera, or, I don't know, ham it up.
Yeah, acknowledge the lens.
Right. But this thing doesn't care at all. It just walks.
Mm-hmm.
Does that complete lack of monster-like aggression actually make the footage feel more authentic to people?
Oh, absolutely. That passivity is the key to the whole thing. When you see this incredibly mundane behavior performed by an otherworldly creature, it actually short circuits our typical fear response.
Interesting.
It replaces that primal fear with pure wonder. It's so bizarrely calm that your brain almost accepts it as real because it doesn't trigger your threat detection systems. Like, it's not a predator.
Okay, so the fact that it's so calm makes it feel real to our brains. But since behavioral psychology says it could be real, we kind of have to put the actual pixels to the test.
Mhm.
Like, is this footage genuinely unexplainable, or is this whole thing just a byproduct of terrible technology?
To answer that, we really have to look at the anatomy of the video itself. And the history of how this video traveled from a driveway to the internet is a masterclass in data loss.
Oh, it's wild. This is where our source from the visual effects YouTuber Captain Disillusion comes in. He did this deep dive into the extreme degradation of that original 2007 Fresno footage. And the chain of compression this video went through before anyone actually saw it online is honestly hilarious.
It's so bad.
Let's just trace the journey for you. So, it was originally recorded on a cheap, off-the-shelf night vision security camera onto a physical VHS tape.
So already you're starting with very low fidelity.
Right out of the gate, it's garbage quality. Then, someone filmed that footage off their physical TV screen using a handheld camcorder.
Oh, man.
Then that new tape was given to the local Univision news station, where it was dubbed onto their system and broadcast over the airwaves.
And we are still not done.
Not even close. So from that TV broadcast, someone DVR'd it at home. Then they digitized it into a video file on their computer. That file was played from a laptop onto a projector screen at a paranormal conference where someone in the audience filmed that screen and finally compressed it to upload to YouTube.
I mean, by the time you watch it on YouTube, you are looking at an artifact of an artifact of an artifact.
Yeah.
To understand why this matters, we have to look at how digital compression actually works. It's not just making the picture smaller, it's actively deleting information.
I was trying to think of a good way to picture this. It's kind of like summarizing a long story, right? Imagine I read you a 500-page novel, and then I ask you to recount it to a friend in like 5 minutes.
Right, you have to skip things.
You're going to drop all the descriptive details. You just say, oh, they went to the store. Digital compression does the exact same thing to pixels.
That's a perfect analogy. The algorithm basically looks at a block of pixels. Maybe one is dark gray, one is light gray, and one is black. To save file space, the algorithm just says, let's make them all the same medium gray. It averages out reality. It completely erases the sharp lines that define physical objects.
And Captain Disillusion actually proved that a hoax of this exact nature is entirely possible under those compressed conditions. He calls it the watermelon trick.
I love this part.
If you grabbed a watermelon right now and walked past your Ring camera, you could basically recreate this tonight.
The demonstration is just brilliant in its simplicity.
He showed that with a locked-off stationary camera, you can just walk across the frame holding a watermelon at your waist. The weight of the watermelon forces your hips into this strange, wide stance, which simulates that awkward pendulum movement. Then, you simply use basic digital editing software to erase your top half. And because the footage is so highly compressed, because the algorithm has already averaged out all those pixels, the editing seams just disappear. The computer basically hides your digital tracks for you.
It's a very compelling debunk. But to be fair to the sources, we do have to acknowledge the other side of this. The sci-fi television show Fact or Faked. Paranormal Files looked at this exact footage, they actually tried to recreate it, and they officially ruled it inconclusive. They couldn't definitively prove it was a hoax.
And honestly, I want to push back a little on the whole amateur CGI theory myself, because there's a great point raised in the cryptid guide source by a hypothetical VFX expert they talked to, David Chen. He points out that if you look closely at the 2007 footage, there are soft tracking shadows beneath the creature.
Oh, right.
Yeah, and those shadows align correctly with the overhead porch lighting in the yard.
That's actually a vital detail. Managing dynamic lighting on a digitally erased object is incredibly difficult.
Exactly. He argues that the smooth animation of those backwards bending knees, plus the seamless tracking of those shadows, would actually require an incredible amount of skill for an amateur to pull off back in 2007.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's just a guy walking with his top half digitally erased, how do the shadows and the weirdly bent joint articulation still look so incredibly seamless?
Fair question.
Not to mention, trying to use a puppet with strings in the 2011 Yosemite footage would be a logistical nightmare. Setting up an invisible string rig in the woods at night to make a puppet step smoothly over a physical log. I just don't see it.
Yeah, it really strains credulity that a random prankster would go to those specific lengths. But this brings us to a really fascinating psychological phenomenon in the history of cryptozoology.
Okay, what is that?
Well, think about the famous surgeon's photograph of the Loch Ness Monster, or, the Patterson-Gimlin Bigfoot film. The extreme degradation of the media doesn't just hide a potential hoax, it actively engages the viewer's imagination.
So the poor quality is a feature, not a bug.
Precisely. We are, at our core, pattern-seeking machines. When an image is that heavily compressed, it forces the human brain to step in and fill in the gaps. The artifacting, the blur, the pixelation, they blur the seams of a potential hoax, yes, but they also invite you to project your own interpretation onto the image.
Right, you see what you want to see.
Exactly. If the footage were in crisp 4K, we'd either see the zipper on the costume or the digital masking lines immediately. The mystery would be dead in 5 seconds. So really, the blur is the mystery.
The blur is the mystery, I love that. But here's where the story takes a very strange turn. Because when science and visual effects analysis failed to definitively prove or disprove the video, people didn't just give up.
No, they definitely did not.
They turned to history. They decided they were going to validate the Nightcrawler by claiming it was actually an ancient indigenous legend.
And this reveals a fascinating and honestly somewhat troubling mechanism of how internet folklore is actually generated.
Let's look at our source from the Reddit community to debunk this. A user went down this huge rabbit hole trying to verify these massive claims swirling around online, because you'd see these viral posts everywhere stating as absolute fact that the Fresno Nightcrawler was deeply rooted in the ancient myths of the local Yokut or Pit River Native American tribes.
And what happens when someone actually checks the primary sources for those tribes?
They find absolutely nothing. Zero evidence exists in their lore for, quote, two-legged white walking things. It was a complete fabrication. Someone just made it up, posted it, and it was repeated so many times online that people just blindly accepted it as historical fact.
Oh.
Yeah. And some folks tried to move the goalposts and say, oh, well, that matches the Stick Indians of the Yakima tribe. But if you read the actual lore, Stick Indians are forest spirits that literally poke people with sticks to annoy them or lead them astray.
Would they just poke people?
Yeah. It had absolutely nothing to do with walking white pants.
It's just wild the way this fake lore spread was described by one Reddit user as a Gish Gallop version of a snipe hunt.
Okay, we definitely need to break those terms down because combining them is what makes this tactic so insidious.
Right. So Gish Gallop is a well-known debate tactic where you essentially drown your opponent in an overwhelming number of weak, rapid-fire arguments. Because it takes a lot more time to thoroughly debunk a lie than it takes to just tell one. So if someone throws 30 fake tribal names at you, they inevitably look like they're winning because you simply can't address them all in real time.
That makes sense. And his snipe hunt is a classic practical joke that dates back to the 1800s, where you send someone into the woods at night to catch a bird that doesn't actually exist. You're basically sending them on a fool's errand.
Exactly. So put them together, and you have the modern internet sleuth experience. The internet throws this massive list of vague tribes and broad historical claims at you, assuming that nobody will actually do the tedious work to verify the myths. They weaponize the sheer volume of information to send you on 30 different wild goose chases.
Think about the last time you saw a spooky story. or a cool, like, ancient fact on Twitter or TikTok.
Yeah.
How often did you actually open a new tab and check the historical sources?
Almost never.
Almost never, right? It's the modern equivalent of the old telephone game. Another user on the thread pointed out how this historically happened with European settlers. Like, a settler might describe the European concept of a wild man or Bigfoot to an indigenous tribe. The tribe politely listens. Decades later, an anthropologist comes along, asks the tribe about wild men in the woods. The tribe repeats the story the previous settler told them, and the anthropologist confidently writes it down as ancient indigenous folklore.
It's just this terrible feedback loop of misinformation. But we have to look at the mechanics of why this happens online today. Like, why do we desperately want to ground a blurry digital video in ancient history?
It's about algorithmic validation, isn't it?
Absolutely. We crave legitimacy for our mysteries. If a blurry video on YouTube is just a weird visual artifact, well, it's easily dismissed. But if it has a connection to an ancient myth, suddenly it feels real, has weight to it. And more importantly, internet algorithms heavily reward ancient mystery uncovered tags way more than boring CGI breakdown tags.
Oh, for sure.
The fake lore outpaces the truth because the platform itself is designed to amplify the most sensational, historically grounded narrative. In our rush to validate our own digital mysteries, we basically bend history to fit the shape of a 20-second VHS clip.
Okay, so if we take stock of where we are, the Nightcrawler largely fails the test of scientific video analysis. It's so heavily degraded that it's essentially just a Rorschach test of pixels. And it completely fails the test of historical folklore. It's a fabricated legend driven by internet algorithms. You would think, logically, that a monster with no scientific backing and no historical roots would just fade away into the obscure, forgotten corners of the internet.
But it did the exact opposite. It thrived.
It exploded.
Yeah.
It went from a creepy cryptid to a cuddly cultural icon. And to understand the psychology behind why it survived, we kind of have to look at how it compares to other internet monsters. Think about the chupacabra, right? That cryptid was born out of very real economic anxieties of farmers finding their livestock dead. It represents a literal threat to their livelihood.
Yes, exactly.
Or look at Slender Man, the ultimate digital boogeyman. He represents modern, paralyzing fears of government surveillance, faceless authority, and just the inherent danger of strangers interacting with your kids online.
Those monsters carry heavy, anxious baggage. They're embodiments of stress.
But the Nightcrawler, it just walks. It has no teeth. It has no claws. It represents pure, unthreatening wonder. And the internet, which is usually a very cynical place, took that innocence and just ran with it. It became a massive meme. You see Reddit users constantly comparing it to the two-legged meme cat or the little spaceman characters from the video game Among Us.
Oh yeah, they look just like them.
People just post photos of the Nightcrawler with the incredibly simple caption, "They walk it."
It's the ultimate blank slate. Because it has no face and no aggressive motives, we can project whatever we want onto it.
And that blank slate has created a literal, massive merchandising industry. Which brings us to my absolute favorite source in our stack today. A listing on Beesart for a digital sewing pattern to make your very own Fresno Nightcrawler plushie.
I love this so much. The level of detail on this pattern is just wonderful.
It really is. It listed as a beginner 1 out of 10 skill level project. You take some soft white Mickey fabric, pop in a pair of 9mm safety eyes, and you get a cuddly 7.25-inch tall walking pair of pants for your living room couch.
We gave a cryptid safety eyes.
You did. And the fandom dedication goes way beyond plushies, too. People build DIY Halloween costumes out of 20 feet of PVC pipe, T-joints, and white North suits. They spend hours specifically engineering unglued knee-joints just to perfectly recreate that bizarre, backward-bending pendulum walk for TikTok videos.
It's a remarkably creative and honestly affectionate response to what started as a scary surveillance video.
I was looking at the sewing pattern and thinking, you know, if I thought this was a real demon stalking my neighborhood, I wouldn't want to sew a soft version of it for my couch. I wouldn't want it anywhere near my house. The fact that we immediately turned this into a cute craft project, does that mean society secretly knows it's fake and we just want to play along?
I think it's deeper than just playing along. What we're seeing is a psychological coping mechanism. Humans use humor and commodification to interact with the unknown. Think about cute aggression. That feeling when you see a puppy and you just want to squeeze it because your brain is overwhelmed by how cute it is.
Yeah.
This is almost the reverse of that.
Wait, how do you mean?
We are taking the fear of the unknown, the literal fear of the dark, and we are confining it. By shrinking the Nightcrawler down into a 7-inch minky plushie with safety eyes, We are literally stripping away its power to scare us. We're domesticating the monster.
Wow. We take something eerie from a grainy tape and bring it into the safety of our homes.
Precisely. It proves that not everything lurking in the shadows has to be terrifying. Sometimes the unknown doesn't want to hurt you. Sometimes it's just delightfully weird. And by making it a meme or a plushie or a complex PVC Halloween costume, we get to participate in the mystery. We get the thrill of the supernatural without any of the actual danger.
That makes total sense. We have covered some serious ground today. To quickly recap the journey for you, we started with a heavily degraded multi-generational VHS tape from a driveway in Fresno. We tracked how the mechanics of digital compression and visual blur allowed the mystery to survive the watermelon trick. We navigated the pitfalls of fake internet folklore, breaking down how algorithms and the Gish Gallop create modern myths. And we ended up with a beloved, plushy-friendly cultural icon built out of PVC pipe and internet memes.
It's a very modern life cycle for a monster. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, it leaves us with something quite profound to think about.
What's that?
Well, for centuries, human beings created monsters to warn us. The werewolf warned us about the untamed dangers of the deep woods. Sea serpents warned us about the unpredictable deep ocean. They were embodiments of our fear of the wild. They kept us safe by keeping us scared.
Right. But the Fresno Nightcrawler wasn't born in the deep woods or the ocean. He was born entirely on the internet.
Exactly. And the internet is a place that is famous for its toxicity, its overwhelming noise, and its constant vibrating anxiety. So consider this. What if the Nightcrawler is so universally beloved because, in today's chaotic world, the most comforting fantasy we can imagine isn't a terrifying beast that we have to conquer or run away from? What if the ultimate fantasy is just a quiet, harmless creature going for a peaceful walk in the dark, completely undisturbed by human chaos?
A peaceful walk, totally unbothered by the noise. I think we all want a little piece of that. So the next time you're standing in your kitchen late at night, you look out that window into the dark. Maybe you won't be looking for a monster to fear. Maybe you'll just be hoping to see a glowing pair of pants out for a quiet stroll.